But have a plan, try and stick to it. If it goes wrong, be prepared to adapt.
Is there such a thing as starting straight to it?
Starting straight?
Only in terms of motivation.
There's a mental thing. What I like to do with an April, like in Paris, whatever, is say, 1st of January, we have the schedule, but actually say the last couple of months of the previous year is just getting yourself fit enough with your friends to start in January as you want to kick off, rather than do nothing in December and then start in January thinking, okay, I have about 10 extra kilos to lose and I'm feeling really slow and lardy. So I'd say, motivation-wise, November and December are still chill out months, but you can still play around with it.
But you can lose an awful lot. If you're thinking, okay, I'll start in January, over that November-December period, for those of you who are thinking about this in the future, that's when it can all go wrong, because you end up being unfit and then immediately starting to 20-25 miles, because that's what your schedule says you'll do, and you just can't sustain it because you're not fit enough to do it. So if you're thinking about, for those of you thinking about marathoning in the future, the longer you can build up and think about building up to start whatever schedule it is you're going to do, that's what you need to be thinking doing, because the stronger you are when you start it, the more likely you are to complete it. I think that's me, isn't it?
Okay, so now we've got some pearls of wisdom from Greg. Just to reiterate, for those who weren't here when we did the intros. Greg, what's your PB?
236.
236. How many have you done less than 240?
10.
How many have you done?
20.
So, great experience, great performance. What's your normal average miles per week?
Normal out of season I do 50-55 miles a week.
Out of season?
Out of season.
And in season?
Between 60 and 100.
Okay.
105.
So high mileage, high performance. Over to you.
Do you work?
I do work actually, yeah. But I run to work and I run home. So basically, on an average day, I've got 11 miles a week just by commuting. I would recommend, if those of you who can. Even if you can't, I think about, you could just leave your stuff at work and just run home. If home is too close, because it's a mile away, take a detour. If home's too far away, run part of the way, get the bus or the train, the rest of it. I've done both over the years. I would reiterate, if you're thinking of anything like that, even up to 50 miles a week, try and avoid the back-to-back hard days. They will cause you problems. You won't get the benefit out of, certainly the second one, unless you're in your 20s, frankly, you've got very fast recovery. The higher the mileage, the shorter the recovery. If you're doing 20-30 miles a week, you're likely to get several days when you're doing very, very little and your body is going to recover. When I do these sessions, my recovery is measured in hours. It's, I think apart from my rest day, probably never go to 18 hours, I think, unfortunately. And I've adapted my body. It's, I've been doing this sort of program for over a decade. I've got very good personal insights as to how hard I'm pushing. I still get it wrong, and I go over the edge of it. And my personal alert is to try and spot that a bit earlier and back off. Other things to try. I do recommend, if you can, do your long run on a Monday or a Tuesday night. If you do it on a Tuesday night, then the Wednesday night has to be a social night, which is sort of meant to be anyway. That's the reason for it, I think, in the calendar. I've got no shame about running in groups that are considerably more relaxed paced than perhaps what PB suggests I should be going. I've never done a 6-minute mile, 3 parts group, which in theory I should be capable of doing. Well, I'm not one of these people who runs twice a week and goes out and race pace around the 3 parks Wednesdays and Saturdays. Other things, build it into your lifestyle, in terms of your big friends. Don't be ashamed. I do things like, I don't take public transport apart from coming home on a Wednesday night. I got over this evening, but I plan it in somewhat meticulously. So I work out, my week, how many miles do I want to do that week. And then at the start of each week, I work out when am I going to do those miles, which days, how am I going to ensure that I don't get my rep session on the Monday, my long run on the Tuesday, and my temp run on the Wednesday, because I'll be injured by Wednesday night. I can't, that's my goal. So do plan it out and then flex it. I've got work drinks on Thursday night that I can't really avoid. That means instead of running Thursday evening, I've got to run Thursday lunchtime. I've got to think about, okay, making space in the diary at work to achieve that. It's not necessarily easy. Other things get in the way. On extending the mileage, if you are in a sequence of feeling like you're strong enough to do your long run every week, some of you will think, yeah, I can hack that. I would recommend when you up the distance, consciously take the first half hour knowing it's gone slower. Just so you know the pace you do, back off for half an hour, keep that in the tank, it'll get you through the next sort of 10-15 minutes at the end, which is the new territory. So you'll get to the end and think, that wasn't so bad. Next week, now do it properly, do it the way you normally run it, and you'll find a bit more challenging, but you'll feel more comfort. You think, well, I'm running a distance or a time I know I can do, and I'll get away with it. So I think doing it in a two-stage cycle, and then if you feel like it, third week, up it a bit more, and again, back off in the first part. The best long runs are the ones that you jog below a credible pace and then tank it the last hour. Very hard to do, but when you these are more, you've got to the end of your program and you've got a lot fitter, you're much happier with your endurance, and you're starting to think about, well, how do I want to race the marathon? It's being able to run the back end fast, not the front end fast. You know, lots of Wednesday night groups, unfortunately, go off at crazy paces, and 20, 30, 40 minutes later, people want to sort of slow down. Actually, if you're in this thing, you've got to find your comfort zone and be willing to be a bit more aggressive at the end of the session, because that's what the real thing is like. You have to up the intensity quite astonishingly, particularly the last 6 miles. Yeah, that's probably about it. Oh, and you've got to look after yourself. So, you know, late nights, bad food, you know, chips. Chips are my one. I pretty much ban myself from chips just because
It's great.
Well, no, they're great, but however, it's only for 20 weeks. I mean, it's not like the rest of your life. And there is a whole motivation around, think what you're giving up, you can reward yourself. You know, I have this thing about, I have a full-on, very bad for me, English breakfast the morning after the marathon, wherever that would be, because that's in my mind, you know, I can turn down a plate of soggy chips in the war grave for that.
Yeah, but how about drinking alcohol and stuff like that?
Well, high mileage tends to lead to lots of aches, lots of pains, lots of fatigue, and it takes a while to learn that that fatigue is not injury building up in you, as opposed to it's just a hard day. And you know, I remember being at La Santa a couple of years ago where we had a big table of marathon runners and a big table of triathletes, and the triathletes were all on coke and juice and water, and the marathon runners were all on alcohol. And we chatted this through and concluded, because the triathletes are constantly back on the bike, back in the pool, they have to keep hydrating. It's quite warm in Lanzarote, even in March. And they've got to keep their electrolyte levels, their water levels back up. It's a constant problem for them. Marathon runners, you go out in the morning, and you sit by the pool, and you go out in the evening, and basically your body's wrecked by that stage. Because you've done two sessions, you've got lots of competition. It's quite easy to overtrain in Lanzarote. And in the evening, yeah, a little what you fancy calms you down. Because your body, I've been out there, not with the Serpies, but where I've done very hard weeks, and my body is just sort of in the evening saying, what on earth are you doing to yourself? But you get to sleep. It's a holiday. Yeah.
Great, thanks Greg. Right, we're going to have a 5 minutes break. Let's have teas, coffees, biscuits. Can anyone with a laptop that's powered up come and see me?
Yeah.
In fact, what time are you anticipating?
We reckon we've got, we're 2/3 of the way through, so another hour. So if you need to leave, then
need to go.
leave.
Please go.
Okay, because you all failed the test and none of you bought a laptop. We're going to jump around a bit, and we can talk through, it's not a problem. What we can't talk through is these words, really. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight to the wall, okay? Now, so we've all heard about it. What is it? Okay, so I'm here talking about the energy wall, so if you like. I'm not talking about a wall where you've got cramp and you still have to stop. This is the wall, as the proper definition of the wall is to do with energy and sudden loss of energy. You can become, the first thing that happens is your brain loses energy or doesn't have enough energy because your brain doesn't store any food, any glycogen. All the energy that your brain uses comes from your liver stored glycogen, okay? And it's transferred in the blood. So when you start losing glycogen, the first thing that happens is your brain goes and you start feeling confused, lightheaded, and you don't care whether you finish the marathon or not, ultimately. Okay. But most of your glycogen is in your muscles, okay, and that's where your muscles get their energy from, is from their own storage. But because you will lose your liver glycogen first, that's why your brain will go first. So even though your brain may have gone, you might feel confused, there's a good chance that your body actually does have enough energy, glycogen, your muscles have enough glycogen to keep going, which is sort of a good thing, because if you can, the first thing you can try and do is run through it. Even though your brain's saying stop, your muscles are probably all right. So how come you can actually finish the race at all then? Well, because you're switching between glycogen and fats, okay? And the point about fat burning is that you need more oxygen to do it. So at the same oxygen intake level, you're going to have to slow down, okay? Which is why it's key to do these long runs in the zone, the fat burning zone, as Urban says, to adapt your body to be more efficient at burning fats. I've hit the energy wall probably in all my marathons to some extent. I've hit soft walls, so gradual decline, and you're just hoping for the line to come. I've hit hard walls a couple of times where within a space, I mean, you know it's coming, but within a space of a mile, you've gone from running to being sick. You know, literally being sick in front of everyone on the mall, or actually along the embankment, just come up to Big Ben. So, and if it does happen, then walk. If you walk, you will get energy back into the liver and muscles. It will take time, but if you walk for a mile, if you really are confused and dropping, just say, right, I'm going to walk for a mile. And after a mile, try and run again. You will still be suffering and you'll still be slow, but you should get a jog a little bit. Take any food that you can, that anyone's offering you, get it into yourself. As I say, try and run through it first of all, because your muscles might have glycogen, but because your brain's gone, you might not even think about that. Okay, so how to stop hitting the wall? Well, basically, it's training, and it's not going out too fast. This is what you want to be. This is what you guys will want to be aiming for. Okay, so if we just look at this is miles along the bottom, so between 1 and 26, and here is the percentage where you're getting your energy from, percentage energy source for any given mile. So if we just look at mile 1, okay, you get about 2/3 of your energy from glycogen, running a marathon at a good constant pace. Most of that is your muscle glycogen and a little bit of liver glycogen, and the rest you'll get from fats. So get rid of the picture from your brain that you've got a certain amount of glycogen that you use up after 20 miles, then you then start using fats. It's not like that. You're using fats all the time, okay? From mile 1, you're using fats and glycogen. And so what you're aiming to do is just keep that percentage of source all the way through the marathon. So mile 1, you're using about 30% fats, and when you finish, if you still getting 30% fats, that means that you've been able to you can maintain an even pace, and you won't hit the wall because you've still got glycogen left. Okay. If you are maybe a well-trained athlete, bit of experience, you can risk depleting your liver glycogen a little bit. You've still got some at the end. You haven't gone into negative equity, so to speak. Your percent of fat that you're burning towards the end is much higher than at the beginning.